Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Edward Amara. Welcome to this all-important weekend, especially to Roundtable Africa, where we discuss things that are very important to the continent and the world at large. We give you careful and quality information there about emerging events that happened on the continent of Africa. We all know how Africa is so important, especially for those folks who are not staying on the continent, whether they are abroad, or maybe they only hear information, read about them, but they may not know the intricacies and the reality and how it affects those of us on the ground. So Focus on Liberia uses this opportunity to practically and adequately, carefully inform folks in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, or Africa at large, or anybody who is a follower of this program. So you're hardly welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Edward Amari. I'm based in Kenema City, Eastern Province, Sierra Leone, West Africa. I am directly broadcasting this program in a very little corner in Kenema City. You're hardly welcome, and I'm going to give you careful and quality information about our continent, Africa. So let's see, today we are having around 30 migrants from Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, appear dead off the Tunisian coast. But that is how young people like me, young people in my age, above my age, how normally is a battle of survival. Sometimes we think and feel that the only means of survival is the European world. And Africans, our brothers and sisters, have on numerous occasions lost their life en route to Europe. Some of them can easily be killed on the high sea. Some of them are also carefully and adequately tortured in these North African countries, especially in Tunisia, where you have a very radical regime taken over by Kais Saied, who took over power in 2019. He was relatively unknown in political scene or on political scene. A lawyer by profession or a law professor came into power. People thought that he was a political outsider, somebody whom many thought that he had little or no influence on the political decision of Tunisia. Unfortunately, the election was rather decisive against those who thought the election was actually decisive in his favor against those who thought that Kais Saied does not have that political power, but to gain power into Tunisia. But with his new political mojo, he came on the political scene and won the election. Today, the dynamics of the Tunisian political power has changed. He has suspended the constitution, dissolved parliament, handicapped, if not crippled the executive, ruled by decree, appointed judges whom he described as yes men. And now, with kind of hate speech, racial languages that is normally uttered, xenophobic mentality, it has created huge problem into Tunisia, and we are seeing situations are happening it is just like from the frying pan into the fire. But before touching on that particular crisis issue, let's come first to Nigeria. Behind Nigeria gubernatorial election, what actually happened? Let me just give you a careful but a precise and concise, careful rundown of what happened in Nigeria gubernatorial election that took place on Saturday, the 18th of March 2022. Nigeria have 36 states. And out of the 36 states, it was expected that 28 of them we are going to contest the gubernatorial and state assembly election, while 8 will be conducted later because of different terms of assumption of office. In Nigeria, it is normally like an accepted, if not a normal culture or tradition, after each gubernatorial elections. Some elections we are turned down because of the decision of the court of the tribunal, of the election tribunal court. Later on, this be decided by the Supreme Court, as the case may be, if the aggrieved party took the election or the decision being made by them to court based on either of them being aggrieved. So we were expecting 28 to actually contest the election. But unfortunately, 2 states were declared indecisive or inconclusive when after Saturday the 28th. So 26 states we successfully conducted their election. As the presidential election, well, some disappointment actually took place into the election. The APC, the All Progressive Congress, won most of the seats, 15th out of the 26 being conducted. The APC won 15th, meaning 11th we are not won by the APC, 15 of the APC. But prior to the election, APC had 21 states. 21 states. But out of the 21 states, remember, it includes the 8 states, some of the states where elections we are not conducted. APC also have some of those states. So prior to the election, APC was controlling 21 states. Out of the 26 states where elections were conducted, APC won 15th. But she still had 4 under her power. These are the 8 states where elections were either declared indecisive or inconclusive, and those where elections did not take place because of the different terms of assumption of office. So so in short, APC still lost 2 states. So she still lost 2 states. Okay, and why the PDP, before the election, the PDP had 14 states, 14 good states. But after the conduction of the gubernatorial and state assembly election, the PDP won 9. Before the election, she had 14 states. After the election, she won 9. But among the 8 states that did not conduct their election because of different assumptions of term of office, the PDP had 3 or have 3 among them. So meaning she still have 12 seats under her control. So in short, they lost 2 states, just as the ruling APC, the All Progressive Congress, as well as the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, the main opposition political party into Nigeria. She also lost 2 states. So let's see. But some surprises actually took place into the Nigeria gubernatorial and presidential election. Like the LP lost, the LP managed to win her 2nd election or gubernatorial election ever. That is the Labour Party. But before this time, they also have another state. But now they have won a different state. That is the oil-rich Abia state. The LP under Peter Obi won it. So surprises actually took place. 6 states flip, meaning political parties changes. Some people decided, instead of being under the APC, let's go to PDP. Instead of being under the PDP, let's go under the NNP, while other party decided to go under the LP, who decided to go under the NP or NNP. So changes like that took place. Let's see something like this. Like 6 state flip, like the Northwest Zamfara state, where it was only in the Northwest Zamfara state where an incumbent lost. That is, Zamfara state before this time was under PDP, but the incumbent candidate lost the election to the candidacy or the candidate of the ruling APC or Progressive Party. So it was only in Zamfara state where incumbent governor candidate or gubernatorial election candidate lost the election to the opposition. but arguably the ruling party, but it was as an opposition in Zamfara state. So it lost the election to the APC. So let's see some of these flip states. When I'm speaking about flip state, I mean state who voted in 2019 for APC, they decided to vote for 2023 for PDP. State who voted for 2019 for PDP decided to vote for 2023 in PDP, for APC. Let's see. Now, the two states now where elections we are declared inconclusive or indecisive are Kebbi State and Adamawa State. But unfortunately, Nigeria have never had any female candidate who won gubernatorial election. Maybe people who are thinking and feeling that it will happen. Maybe like in Adamawa State, people who are thinking that like Aisha Biani will stand against the current candidate in Adamawa State or the incumbent under the APC, under the PDP. But based on the election result being collated, I think Aisha will definitely not win that state. The state will end up being won by the PDP. And before this time, it was the PDP that was actually leading that particular state. So, except otherwise, but based on results being released, there is a high possibility that Adamawa State will still go to the PDP. Then another thing happened also into the election. Unlike the presidential, state, National Assembly and senatorial election, where voter turnout was 27%, there was a slight increment into the voter turnout. Now it came to, or the voter turnout went to 29%, meaning 2% was actually added on the voter turnout. 2% was actually added. So when we are seeing this, let's see. Among all the governors that won their state, let's see the newly elected governors. The newly elected governors are 17th. Newly elected governors, 17th. This is the first time that they came into power. Newly elected governors. Then the re-elected governors. The re-elected governors are 9. Then, and the states that change, flip from one party to another. The newly elected governors are 17. The re-elected governors are 9. Then the states that change their political party from APC to PDP, from PDP to LP, from LP to NNPP, we are 6. So let's see. Some 2 states flip to APC instead of going originally to the PDP, like Benue State and Sokoto State. Benue State and Sokoto State used to be the stronghold or places where the APC normally win their election. In the 2023 election, it was the ruling APC, the All Progressive Congress gubernatorial candidate that won the election. Then the PDP, also in Zamfara and Plateau State. The PDP in Zamfara and Plateau State. So it's like Zamfara before this time was being controlled by the APC. Now the PDP in Zamfara and Plateau State. Then the LP, as the Labour Party in the rich Abia oil state, or the oil-rich Abia state. The APC, the LP, the Labour Party won there. Then the NNP won in Kano State. That is Rabiu Kwankwaso. Rabiu Kwankwaso, who won the election in Abia State. In Kano State. So Zamfara is the only state where the incumbent governor lost. Then the youngest age of the governors, the youngest person among the governors elected is 47 years old. Then the average age of the governors elected is 56. Then like for the Anambra State, we have people we are thinking that maybe Alicia could win the election based on results being tallied. I think the INEC, that is Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, may end up to declare it for the opposition PDP, because I think Asia has around 365,498 votes, while the PDP have 401,113 votes. So there is a possibility that the APC, the PDP candidate will win. So this is how Nigeria is still a masculine society, maybe where women only highest position in time of leadership or decision making is definitely in ministerial position. But never mind, we shouldn't forget that like Nigeria also have strong women who in the past, like the former governor, the former finance minister who now work with it was under Olusegun Obasanjo, who now works with World Bank. She also used to be a woman of strong pillar under Obasanjo government. So let's come back now. 34 migrants feared death off Tunisia coast. That's very pathetic. We are only seeing Tunisia as being used as a route for migrants, for young people. Some of them are educated, some of them are literate, poor, ignorant, and maybe in one or two ways disconnected with the reality of the world. They may decide to take what they normally, like in Sierra Leone, what do they call it? Temple run. That is what normally they do. It's a kind of high jump thing that they do to get into Europe, maybe without legal means. But our African brothers and sisters have been tortured on several occasions, raped along this route, treated as slaves, and some of them will never see the shore of Europe, and they will never come back to Africa. They will end up to be wallowing into this desert, die maybe of being thirsty. Some of them are actually killed the wrong way. Some of them are raped. We all know sometimes, I am not being xenophobic, but we all know sometimes how the Arabs treat typical black Africans. If they treat you with the Arab mentality, you are being assaulted. In fact, most of them think and feel that they are definitely not part and parcel of Africa. And each time they see an African, a typical black person like me, they become like allergic to you. They can do everything they can, though some of them actually are good because we interact with them. But unfortunately, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Algeria, few of these Arab countries, especially found in Northern Africa. But like Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, then they take the route from Mali because they used Mali to get entry points. It is actually in Tunisia, in Morocco. Morocco is very close to Spain. Then Tunisia is somehow close to Italy. They think the like of Libya. So you think about Algeria. So our brothers use this particular link to ensure that they get into Europe. Unfortunately, the journey has not been a bed of roses. They have been exploited. They have been tortured. Some of them work in this. I have some colleagues whom I normally communicate with. Some of them are in Algeria. There was one among them who is very fortunate today to be living in Catalonia, that is Barcelona in France. But he bitterly complained to me how he lost two of his colleagues along the line. So this is what normally happens in Africa. Because of poverty, because of illiteracy, because of ignorance, we tend to see the Western world as the only area where we may have life as in the form of paradise. But if you get there through the illegal means, or trying to even enroute or through illegal means, it endangers your life. Our younger brothers, elder brothers, have been tortured. Some of them have been killed. Some young girls have been raped. Some of them have even lost connection. We have seen like what some of them are even like in Sierra Leone. Most of our brothers and sisters are living in Uma. They have been raped, tortured, relegated to the status of a slave. And in places like Libya, we have seen how Africans have been tortured. It is widely rumored, like in some part of, or if you are heading to Europe, immediately you are caught along the high sea, especially between between Tunisia and Italy. They will give you an option. Either decide going into the high sea or they kill you. So it is up to you. Our brothers' lives are being risked on a daily basis. Yet irrespective of the heinous crimes being committed, irrespective of the horrific stories being explained, international organizations, ROC, and other UN and other world health organizations, including human rights groups, they almost always preach against existing crimes. But yet, because of poverty, our brothers just think and feel that Europe is the only means. I think that this is a slap in the face of our African leaders. We almost have everything in Africa. Almost everything that can create this particular continent for us to be a paradise. Unfortunately, we live in the middle of natural resources. Yet, we continue to suffer. We hardly earn $1 per day. Prices of our staple food are skyrocketing. You will work and work. In fact, even if for those people who are on salary, some of them can easily, in fact, they will even prefer like an NGO. That is a non-governmental organization. Because like I taught once, or I'm still a practicing teacher, I know exactly what I am explaining here. Sometimes we are only volunteers. Even those who are not volunteering, they are complaining. So what about those who are only volunteering when you do not have a PIN code? A government designated 6-digit code that warrants you to take pension, and at the same time, you could be called a civil servant. So irrespective of our education, irrespective of where we find ourselves in Africa, life is so difficult, very difficult to handle. So it's rather pathetic. It's unfortunate that our brothers will decide to leave the continent. Maybe it is not just any means of justification, but because of the prevailing circumstances on the ground, not all of them will have that ideology to take over. Unfortunately, even during times of elections, the youth voices hardly cross the table, because politicians create our society in such a means that you will be left without an option rather than begging. Even when you are educated, even if you have a careful and quality education. But the society is being created in such a way that with all your education, you have no option rather than to stand out in a beggarly position. Sometimes some people who have never been used to Africa, they will just sit down. How can you get from college? After college, you cannot find something to do. But what type of education are we even getting from our colleges? We need practical education that can actually enable us to get job, even without being employed, send employment. But most of our education in Africa is too bookish. It's too bookish. Maybe if there were a middleman level of education be given as far as just going to college and earn a degree. In fact, even when you want to earn a degree, how quality will your degree be? When the learning environment will not be ideal. Sometimes not even trained and qualified people will normally come and stand before you. So the situation is so appalling. And today our African brothers and sisters' lives are being risked on the high sea. Of course, the UN, other humanitarian organizations will come and condemn. But we are not talking about mere condemnation. We need practical actions. Those migrants who lost their life, especially when we have Kai's side on the power or on the hem of affairs in Tunisia, who is actually dealing with the country in time of decree. What he releases is he decrees, and it happens. Constitution suspended, parliament suspended, the executive politically handicapped, the judiciary, all those living within the judiciary are his yes men, and he surrounds himself with his yes men, full of xenophobic and racial utterances, which have created a society for even people who are black Tunisians, life being in danger. So we are seeing that we are not living into an equal society. The black man in my color, we have no option rather than to think that let me go to Europe. But going to, you also what happened in, well, like the war in Ukraine. When it happened initially, how our African brothers we have been handled. If you come into a bus or a train, or you decide to embark on a train or a bus, when typical white will be seated over, it can easily be bull out, and it's still being given to people of different colors. So it's an insult. I think and I feel that Africa deserves much more better things than the current things that we are undertaking. It's so pathetic, so it's sort of a calculated insult. The wickedness being directed against our African brothers is well spotted. Unfortunately, nothing is being done. They will preach against a crime that happens yesterday in Tunisia and today it happened. So it's a fruitless devil. Can stop. Let us stop beating a dead bush. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, and yet the crimes are happening on a daily basis. How can we survive? What really can we do? Even when it comes to decision taken, look at what happened in Nigeria. Presidential elections, voters turnout was 27%. Gubernatorial and state assembly election, voters turnout was 29%. An insult. With a country over 200 million people, over 200 tribes, deeply dominated by Christian and Muslim mentality, associated with things like religious mentality, where you see jihadist movement, kidnapping, and many marks normally involve attacks. So are we not just living in a failed state? You get down into South Africa demonstration, go into Kenya demonstration, you get down into Ethiopia war, you come into Senegal, there is another confrontation. The Kasama region, something is being happening about. Of course, even Makassar does not want to leave power. You go into Somalia, Al-Shabaab is there. Get down into Mozambique, the same set of Muslims are operating over there. You go into Uganda, you meet a man who has been in power for over 36 years. The UDM now is now forming a rebel group. You go into DRC Congo, there is war. You come into Congo Brazzaville, where you have Denis Nguesso has been in power for over the past 35 years. You go into places like Central Africa Republic, there is war over there, the Christian Balaka and Anti-Balaka. Chinese citizens are also being killed. You come into Cameroon, Paul Biya has been in power over 40 years. So what is really happening into Africa? You get down into Guinea, you meet Mamadi, a Kaki boy into power. Mali is the same thing. Traore, Captain Traore of in Burkina Faso is there. So what is really happening? Our continent is so confused, so involved into war. Time bomb, nowhere is safe. Look at Zimbabwe suffering from high inflation. In the Zambia, since the president came into power, corruption, and Zambia is even asking for a bailout. Zambia is asking for a bailout. In places like Rwanda, you're having somebody who claims to be a Democrat doing everything, but is a suppressor of democracy. It's the peace and unity that is building in Paul Kagame. It is going to, how long will that stand? How long will it stand when people who will have different ideology and approach to governance stand against his mentality? Destruction is definitely going to take place. Look at DRC Congo, when Jean-Pierre Bemba, who was convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity, later on being granted a bail and also released by the ICC, the International Criminal Court of Justice, because of insufficient pieces of evidence given to by the prosecutor. Today he's been appointed as the country defense minister. How can you take a criminal, somebody who has been well known for rape, recruitment of children into the army, facilitating evil against the citizens, to become the country defense minister when the M23 is seriously operating? Of course, Congo DRC under Philly Tshisekedi have on several occasions accused Rwanda and Uganda of being facilitating this war. And even the UN, they have their peacekeepers in the DRC. But are they willing to end the war there? No, they are definitely not willing. Reason being, the perpetual continuous war into the DRC will enable the UN and other bodies who are there on peacekeeping to exploit the natural resources. Most of these cell phones things are being taken, most of the minerals being used to create or to manufacture cell phones are being taken from the DRC. And people there do not want to end war. The UN and other international bodies, they are so crafty. They are excellent in manipulation. What they normally do is the fact that wheresoever there are natural resources on the continent of Africa, they will infect that particular place with war and create a type of situation where such war will never end. And the country, the war parties or the country or people in question will be left without an option rather than to come into them asking for help. And when they establish their presence on ground, they will create a situation where they will start exploiting things. Look at what is happening in South Sudan. You have Riek Machar and Salva Kiir who do not see eye to eye. Like in North Sudan, after Salva Kiir did everything he can, today he is in prison. That is why they are saying Omar Bashir is in prison. But the military is there in power after overthrowing Hamdok. Hamdok was forced to resign. Then, like after the UN declare Vladimir Putin as a war criminal because of the crimes against humanity, he will definitely be into South Africa. You have somebody, normally I say Julius Malema maybe is a young person, arguably compared to other South African leaders, but he's mentally not fit to lead South Africa. Reason being we all of us are radical, but he's been negatively radicalized. And watching our South African society, we have xenophobic mentality, racial discrimination on a high, apartheid still seen and felt everywhere. You cannot have somebody who behave like an excellent talk into our power. We have all seen how uncontrollable, but he does not scrutinize his wordings. He tells people anything he feels like saying, what he has been doing. How can you expect such a person to lead South Africa? If Jacob Zuma becomes the president of South Africa, Julius Malema becomes the president of South Africa today, tomorrow definitely xenophobic, pandemonium, chaotic situation will be at the order of the day, because he's a revolutionary leader, but he's not a leader under normal atmosphere. So definitely we are seeing this thing. Now they are even asking Vladimir Putin to visit South Africa, where they have Brazil, China, South Africa conference. Brazil, China, Indian, and South African conference. It's Brazil, India, China, and South Africa. They are there to maybe it's a kind of maybe in terms of their economy. But we all know, we have seen how the war in Ukraine is crippling African economy on a daily basis. And if the UN, South Africa is part of the UN, and she signed part of the ICC. Although Russia does not have any link with the ICC, but still part of the UN, but did not sign, it's not part and parcel of the International Criminal Court of Justice. But if Putin comes there, it is the responsibility of a country that is a constituent of the ICC to arrest or apprehend such wanted person and present it to the ICC. But he will definitely come there. We saw that when Bashir was declared wanted, he went into South Africa, and the AU and other bodies called that Bashir should be arrested. South Africa said no. It was the same thing in 2003 when Charles Taylor left from Liberia, went into Ghana. They called the Ghanaians to arrest South Africa. Charles Taylor, he left. And it was this man, he passed away. We threatened, and a lot of things are definitely happening on the continent. Where are we heading to? Sometimes you feel sick when you see development like this happening into the continent. We are a bit confused, and we are left without an option other than to embrace the perpetual suffering that is crippling us on a daily basis. Almost the world, we are living as if Africa is a mere hell with everything that we have. Today, our exploiters are still on the continent mismanaging our affairs. They are mismanaging our affairs on a daily basis. We have president who we elect. Some of them look like what Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm not against him being elected, but watching at the current situation in Nigeria, it needs somebody who is not only mentally strong, but physically strong to handle. But if you can ask that man to go on the drill for 2 or 3 hours, except you take him to the hospital for medical checkup, he's not that strong. Of course, he's a political godfather, acceptable. He has been into the Nigerian politics for quite a long time. He knows the intricacy of Nigerian politics, and maybe he knows where I go. But he's far better a rich man. What does he need? What does he need? Only power? We need somebody who will experience the fact. So all of these things are happening. An aged person like that will not create any success into Nigeria. It was the same mistake that Nigeria did under Olusegun Obasanjo. Maybe it could be the same mistake. It could be the same mistake that they have just done. Who knows what will definitely happen? Maybe scientifically, or during the time that Alhaji Omar Yar'Adua died in office, Nigeria, the world was not as sophisticated like this. I think and feel that maybe they can hold on to Buhari, just hold on to Tinubu, just as they did under Buhari. He can complete his term into office. But I doubt if whether Bola Ahmed Tinubu will go for the second time. Let's see what may happen. So, Africa is Africa. It is only in Africa that certain things happen. But remember, what happened in Sri Lanka, some part of last year, when Gotabaya Rajapaksa was definitely sent out of power. The Sri Lankans demonstrated against him. They invaded the parliament and almost entered everywhere. Took over. He ran away. But the same person that came is no different. His former prime minister. This is an excellent way of manipulating people. Our society is really a bastardized one. That is the brutal truth. But yet we have no option rather to embrace it. And no wonder young people will definitely tend to flee from the continent whenever such opportunity arise. Because if opportunities like that arise, young people will be left without an option rather than to leave. Thank you. My data is crying. It's been me, Edward Amara. Don't blame us. Here, especially in Sierra Leone, data is a crisis. So we normally broadcast program based on the availability of data. Thank you. It's been me, Edward Amara, and analyzing things that goes on into Africa. Today, some Liberians are arguing for an 80-year-old man in Liberia. Of course, is it Doric Paul? Sometimes I just watch at Liberia. I am not a candidate of, or I am not an apologist of either of the candidates in Liberia or any one of them. But the problem here is that we should understand that our society does not only somebody who is mentally strong to solve them, because you cannot live in office and solve those things. We also need somebody who is physically strong. We should watch at the prevailing circumstances, then we try to come with a leader that can take care of certain situations. What people don't understand is a different type of leadership that we have. Maybe the like of Joseph Newman Boyka is better like a statesman and advisor, to me, in my own knowledge. The like of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is better to be an advisor. He knows everything that happened into Nigeria, but he's no longer physically strong and mentally equipped to go about doing it. It could have been better, if not the best, he come into an advisory position. Support a young candidate and you be like a mentor instead of a one to lead. So we are watching our situations where we cry foul, but we are not doing anything. Unfortunately, this same government excellently manipulate the constitutions. They bastardize everything into these countries. Our constitutions have been carefully manipulated through unscrupulous referendum being conducted. And the Warad, look at Yoweri Museveni, 36 years into power, amended the constitution, he will still go. And now he's grooming his son to take over. Look at what is happening today in Equatorial Guinea, where you have Theodore Obiangwema in leadership. And his president, the VP of that particular country is the son. What are we doing? Look like Jose Dos Santos, Jose Eduardo Dos Santos, who is now a late man in Angola. When he was the head of the Angolan society, where you have Isabel Dos Santos, arguably the richest woman in Africa. They manipulated everything. Even our religion in Africa is not helping situation because they facilitate bad leadership. If we are not, so things that are happening today in the Congo, if the Catholic did not support you, you cannot win election. So we are seeing an excellent manipulated society by certain unscrupulous citizens who want everything to be done according to their own whims and caprices. And if things like that are not going to be done, they inject the country with the virus called disunity. They create a type of situation where almost everybody will turn to them for help. Liberians, Sierra Leoneans, Guineans, the Ivorians, Malians, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Togo. Nobody's just free from this mentality. So it's so sad. So sad. Anyway, I think my data is no longer permitting me to go further. Thank you very much. I may definitely decide to come with another program tomorrow. This evening. Welcome. Thanks for listening. And it is Jasian Car. Thank you too for listening, and thank you for almost always following my program. Thank you.